Not every player is going to be an NHL superstar, but depth is just as important as superstars in the NHL, and that's where guys like Dominic Toninato come in. Last summer, Toninato was a college free agent, 23, so a bit older than your regular prospect, having gone through all 4 years of college, but the Avs, having plenty of space available, were able to sign him, likely by promising him some time in the NHL. From the beginning, Toninato was billed as a defensive forward first, going to do things like penalty kill and shut down players while grinding things out. Because the Avs also signed Alex Kerfoot, Toninato would show decently in camp, but end up starting the season in the AHL with San Antonio. Toninato would get his feet wet in pro hockey down there, and even show a little bit of offensive upside along with the defensive play that was expected of him there. A bit of a month later, the Avs needed a depth call up, and Toninato would be it. His first stint in the NHL would last just 2 weeks, but he would get his first ever NHL points, and what he did was show that he can function in the NHL in a bottom six role. In the places where AJ Greer struggled to show well, Toninato filled in and quickly took over. He would play low minutes at the NHL level, but that's okay. That's what was expected of him. It would be a rarity all season to see him hit even the 10-minute mark. But he would play defensively, he would kill penalties, he would do the fourth line things that were expected of him. After being sent back down to San Antonio, he was given a much bigger role on that team, and he showed that he could handle it, and scoring even at a decent pace, at least for the AHL level. Toninato would play down there from the start of December to nearly the end of January before he would be called up to the Avs permanently. In his second, much longer stint with the Avs, Toninato did show that he really wasn't producing at the NHL level at all. And to an extent, that's okay for now, but going forward into the future seasons, even in this one, he has to score a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a ton, but it needs to be some. Still, Toninato solidified himself, at least in my mind, as a prototype 13th forward. He's never going to be a guy that your team builds around or even a key piece for your team, but he's the type of player that you need a lot of. As the season came to a close, Toninato would find the bench for the last handful of games of the season, just with the Avs getting healthy and trying to make that final push for the playoffs. He did stay up with the NHL squad just in case they needed an extra body, though. On the season, Toninato had 2 assists in 37 games in the NHL. He also had 7 goals and 5 assists for 12 points in 31 AHL games. Based on the season he had, a lot of it probably more on the defensive and role-playing side, I'm going to give Toninato a C+. And this C+ was really close to a B-. Toninato is the type of player that the Avs have struggled to develop for years and years and years. Granted, the Avs didn't really develop Toninato that much either, signing him as a 23-year-old rookie, but he still fits the mold a lot better than all of the aging veteran depth that we've tried to sign for way too many seasons. He's young enough that there still could be a bit of potential there, and if he can find just even a tiny bit of more offensive production, we could see him take over a Gabe Bourque role as soon as this next season. As it stands with the Avs, Kamenev is likely ahead of Toninato on the Avs depth chart, so he will probably start in the AHL with the Eagles, but expect him to be the first call-up whenever the Avs need a body, especially in the bottom six. It's been too few and far between that the Avs can say they've made an NHLer out of a prospect, but it's sure looking like they'll be able to do that with Toninato. That is the end of this player's season review. Thank you for watching. Toninato's full season highlights are right up here. I'm Rudo3, and I don't know what to say.